on you, babe. Give me something. Don't know how to win. I've been waiting on you, babe. Yeah, on you, babe.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on No Dumb Questions. That, of course, is my son, Walker. I got to give the family business some love. He counts himself as a musician. I do too. Excuse me. He actually asked me one time, do you like my music because I'm your son, or do you like it because you like it? And if I'm being really honest, I actually liked it. In fact, I was surprised that I liked it because I just thought he was just another lazy 15-year-old staying upstairs in his room the whole damn time and not wanting to come downstairs and wash the dishes. But apparently he was doing something meaningful up there. So he lets me use his song to be the intro to No Dumb Questions. And No Dumb Questions is an opportunity for us to have a conversation. I feel like the internet is filled with silos, this side versus that side, these people versus those people. And what too often happens is we don't have a conversation. And those people who we think we fundamentally disagree with, we hate them. And those people who validate every single thing that we believe, we love them. And that's not the way the real world works. And somewhere along the way, we've lost our way in creating the opportunities to have conversations. And so tonight, I am really happy to welcome a sister by the name of Shamika Michelle. Shamika Michelle is an author, a life coach, and somebody who does not hold her Southern tongue. And before we hear from Shemeka, I want to hear from Shemeka. So, Shemeka, if it's all right with you, sis, I want to play a clip of you doing what you do. Is that all right?
Let's do it.
All right.
I think the biggest mistake Black women are making is we don't know how to shut up. You know, a man who has been out fighting in the world all day, he doesn't want to come home and listen to you nag all day long. And a lot of times women like to bait men into senseless arguments every day, just emotional foolishness. And I know that they do it because I have friends or associates that if I offend them or hurt them in any kind of way, they'll send these long, drawn out text messages, you know, just trying to bait you into an emotional conversation. A man that is worried about putting a roof over your head, food on the table, clothes on your back, he doesn't have time for that. So I think one of the biggest mistakes is that Black women don't know how to shut up. And one of the mistakes that men are making is trying to, meet them 50-50. You can't go half and half on craziness. You know, men need to stand flat footed and have certain standards and require that women meet those standards. Or if not, leave them be.
Well, let's get it started. Shamika, Black women need to shut up.
Yes, definitely.
Why do they need to shut up?
Well, because I've just learned over the years that we talk too much and we've tried to make it sound real good. I heard the slogan, I'm not bossy, I'm a boss. No, you're bossy and you're controlling and you talk too much and you're overbearing. And that's just something, we can be really aggressive. If you look at just how we've kind of evolved over the years, we've kind of had to step up a little bit more, but it's made us be very aggressive, more masculine, and it's just unappealing. It's unattractive to men. I talk to a lot of men all the time, and that's not really what they want. So if you want to get one and keep one, you have to learn how to be a little more feminine, which is going to require you to just be quiet.
Do you have one?
I don't have one because I talk too much.
So guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. This is something that I learned. I was married for 11 years. I've been divorced now 10 years. And the relationship that I got into after divorce, he said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. He said, you don't have to talk to me very aggressive. Like, you don't have to act like you're a man.
And this was something that I think maybe my husband may have tried to tell me, but I didn't really listen, because we just had so many other things going on in our relationship too. It's hard to hear someone when you're just arguing all the time. So I actually heard this man who came from a 2-parent household, whose mother and father were married until, the father died, whose grandparents were still together. And I feel like I heard him. Like, I am aggressive. I was raised by a single mom who was raised by a single mom. So I've always felt like I just had to get stuff done. And so I had the attitude that a man could come or go, it was fine. And so I started to learn from him just saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You talk to me very aggressive, and you don't have to be that way. Let me be the man. And I heard that.
Have you shut up?
I have shut up. I have, because if you don't, you're going to be single. I'm single now because I feel like it's not fair to have a man sit at your table only to starve him to death. And now I like doing what I'm doing. I already know what it feels like to walk down the aisle and smash cake in each other's face, build a house from the ground up. Now I'm taking care of my children, and I'm helping younger people get right what I got wrong. My eggs are already powdered. No need of me trying to rush into another marriage.
So you want to stay single?
I may want to stay single. I go between wanting to share my life and not wanting to share my closet. I'm not quite sure yet.
So you do understand that there are racist undertones that people would say are connected to saying that Black women are aggressive, right? Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that is used as a trope in many a workplace. When a Black woman confronts a white colleague, she's often referred to as aggressive. Do you feel like your statements are easily added to the veracity of that for those who would use it against us?
Not necessarily, because I feel like there's a way to get your point across without being nasty. There's a way to get your point across without being condescending. And we have to learn how to do that, even as Black women. I understand that we don't want to be considered the angry Black woman, but sometimes that's exactly what we are. That's how we come across, simply in our delivery. We can get our point across without being nasty, without, chopping someone down to make them feel like hamburger meat. I say all the time, when they go low, I go lower. Like, I know how to be cutthroat if I need to be, but I also know how to be soft. You have to choose to be soft in certain situations. A soft answer turns away wrath. That comes from the Bible, and that's just the way it is. Nobody wants to be a man, especially that wants to live with you or have a relationship with you, doesn't want to argue all the time. Everything doesn't have to be combative.
Does a woman want to argue all the time?
A woman likes to argue a lot. I think that women are really fueled by emotional things. And I noticed this even just dealing with other women, and I'm a woman. Women that I may disagree with, or they don't like something that I did or said, they will begin to send these long messages, text messages, or they want to call and have these, come to Jesus meetings. And I'm like, why? If I did something wrong to you, and just let me apologize and let's move on. They want to talk and cry, and you hurt me, and you can say I'm sorry, but you still hurt me, and it's just too much. So I know if they do it with me and I'm not sleeping with them, they do it to the man.
How much of the way a Black woman is perceived is the Black woman's responsibility, and how much of it is the listener's responsibility, whether it be a Black man or a white woman or a white man? How much is whose responsibility?
I'm thinking, I would think a lot, maybe 50-50. I can't really just decide on a percentage, but a lot of it, we can't control, of course, how someone else perceives us, but we can control how we come across. If we know when we're nasty, and we play a lot of games. We pretend like we don't know when we're being nasty, or when we're being what they call, throwing shade. that's where it came from. We know that we do it. The problem is we a lot of times don't like to admit that we do it, especially when somebody calls us out for it. We'll double down and just say, oh, that's not what I meant. When you being nasty. I know when I'm being nasty. If somebody comes at me on social media real slick, sometimes I'm going to be real slick back. I know that I'm doing it. I'm not stupid. I'm not, dumb. I do it on purpose. And so a lot of times we know exactly what we're doing. We just don't like to admit it.
Do you feel that Black women corner the market on this? Is this something that our sisters do more than other groups?
Well, I haven't watched The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I've watched The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and it seems as if we do corner the market on it.
You can't possibly be using as your data set The Real Housewives.
I'm just saying, I don't know a lot of white women that talk the way that we do, but I've been around Black women my entire life. And so I definitely know this is something that we do. And I hear too many people say it for it, not to have some truth to it.
So you feel that Black women are more likely to be argumentative with their spouses than a white woman with her spouse?
Well, I've had a lot of white men come in my DM and say it's not just Black women. But again, I'm only around Black women. And so when I look at the divorce rate, or when I look at the rate that we're marrying, which is not what it should be, my focus is on Black women. I have 3 Black daughters. So I'm glad that white men come and tell me it's not just Black women, but that's really where my focus is.
Are you teaching them to shut up?
I am.
Really?
I am.
What does that look like? Talk me through the lesson of how old are your children? If you don't mind me asking, it's as appropriate as I want to say, keep your children out of it. I'm more or less talking to you. But
16, 18, and 25.
Okay, so you got grown children. They say Black don't crack. You are definitely doing the thing. All right. So you're teaching your daughters to shut up. Tell me what that looks like in a lesson.
It looks like just being respectful and not being masculine. I hear a lot of young people today, even young girls, they'll talk to little boys and they're constantly saying, bruh, you got to stop doing this, bruh. What you think, bruh? They're just very masculine in the way that they talk. I have taught my daughters, don't do that. Don't talk like that. Don't be mannish. Don't be masculine. And respect a man. Now, of course, we have to have our sons being respectful too, but you can't beat a man. That's what I'm teaching my children. More likely they can beat you. We like to say we're strong as women, but we're not really strong. I like to use the word resilient, that we are capable of bouncing back. So I teach my daughters, you don't have to be strong. You don't have to be masculine. You don't have to be argumentative and disrespectful. You can have a respectful conversation with a man and be feminine. And this is not being a pushover. A lot of people think this is being a doormat or being a pushover. It's not. This is just being a respectful young woman. And my 18-year-old was talking to me. She goes to school, the same school with her cousin. So they hang around each other a lot. And she was saying that he was telling her about an issue that he was having with the girl. And she was like, Mom, I'm just like, he just needs to put his foot down. I'm not saying he needs to slap a bitch. This is what she said.
I'm following you.
I'm not saying that she needs to do that, but I am saying that he needs to do that, but I am saying he needs to have, get some respect. Like the way she talks to him is very disrespectful. So they see it, they don't like it, and they understand it's just not necessary. It's not necessary all the time.
Is it working with them? Are they all in healthy relationships?
My 16 and my 18-year-old are too young. My 16-year-old is in high school, okay, and my 18-year-old is a freshman in college. But my oldest daughter, she is still dating. And I just told her, you're running out of time now. Like I used to say, I don't want any grandchildren. I'm not ready. But then I realized she'll be 26 next year. And now I'm like, okay, it's time to buckle down and get serious. You're running out of time.
She's 25.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you want her to sire a child? Is that what we're going for?
No, I'm not even ready to be a grandmother. I just don't want her to be one of these old, bitter 35-year-olds that have never been married, and just angry with the world.
Do you think that not being married is an indictment on their ability to be in a relationship?
I think it has yes.
You don't think that a woman would decide not to be in a relationship because she doesn't want to?
I think that she can, but I think for the most part, most women want to be in a relationship, or at least want to be married and have children. I was 18, I was majoring in biology, but when people would say, "Hey, what are you going to school for?" I would say my major is biology, but I want to be a housewife. I think most women want to be wives, but we made them feel like that's not an accomplishment. We've made women feel like that's not a good thing, that's actually being less of who they were put on this earth to be. And I just don't believe that. I think most women are happier when they're in relationships.
Yet you say that at this point, you're not sure if you want to be in one.
Well, because I understand that right now I am speaking, I'm traveling a lot, I'm on different platforms.
Men travel, they let us on planes.
Well, if he has a full-time job, like last year for 6 months, I was gone every weekend. I don't think that would be healthy for a relationship. If he has to stay home and I'm constantly gone, maybe once, in a couple years, once my daughter finished the 11th grade, I may be interested in doing that. But right now, I wouldn't have a man here and not give to him what he actually needs, because I don't think I would be helping build another man's vision. Right now, I'm on the Blaze with Fearless with Jason Whitlock. My husband's vision would come first. I've been married, so I know that that's what I would do. I would
So you wouldn't do
he
it?
wants to do first.
So if you met somebody, you would leave your job, is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. If he required me to do that, if it took that to make our relationship work, yes, I would leave.
You would think that a man who honored and respected you would need you to not fulfill your dreams in order for him to have his? Is it that binary? Either he gets his or you get yours?
I just think something is going to be missing. Like you're going to not be able to do something. The way that I'm gone, the way that I'm going, I would have to not cater to something. Either my children would miss out. Well, I only have one at home now, but either my children would miss out, he would miss out, or my job would miss out. I don't think I could give 100% in every area, and somebody's going to come up short, or something's going to come up short.
There couldn't be a work-life balance where, and I'm not talking, I said alignment, where he and you want you to be successful, so he and you work together to be successful. Is it that you would struggle with?
I think that, making him successful is me being successful. I don't think if he needs my help and I'm not around, that's I don't think that's what a woman should do. I think if I could go after what I wanted to do, or still do this, and it not take time away from him, or I'm still able to meet the goals that he needs or meets the requirements that he needs from me, then that's fine. But if I couldn't do that, then I don't think that's successful at all. I think being a good wife is being a good helpmeet. And the word is 2 words. We say it as one word all the time, but it's actually 2 words. And help means to support or assist, and meet, fulfill, and satisfy. If I'm not doing that, then to me, I'm not being a good helpmeet.
What does it mean then to be a good wife?
I just told you. To support, assist, fulfill, and satisfy. Whatever it is my husband needs me to do, that's when I should be available for that.
Which for you could mean punting on the rest of your career at such a young age.
It could mean that.
And that you think would make you happy?
I think if I'm satisfying him, it would make me happy. I was happy being a wife for 11 years. I just kind of evolved into this. It wasn't something that I was going after. I served my husband and my family, and I was happy doing that. Now, other things, of course, that were added, I told you we had a lot going on in our relationship. They weren't great. And
how do you separate the two? I hear you on the one hand saying that you were happy being a wife, yet you were saying, but I also heard you say there were a lot of things going on in your relationship, which would lead me to believe that you were not happy. So how is it that you are both happy being a wife and unhappy with the marriage that you find yourself in, so unhappy that ultimately you guys go your separate ways? How do you reconcile the two?
I would have stayed married if I didn't have to deal with outside interference. So let's say we got together at 22 and 23. He was right out of prison. We started a business. We entered a church that told us oral sex is a sin. We just had a lot of things going on in our marriage that just, when you start compiling those things, sometimes it's just hard to push through. And I got to the point where I didn't know how to stay and live. So I wanted to be a wife. I loved being a wife, but I don't think that he loved being a husband. And this is me being naked without trying to strip him, butt naked. I would never do that because I still respect him and we get along great. Like, we're the best of friends. We talk almost every day. But I don't think he wanted to be a husband.
So now you find yourself on a national stage. You are making statements that some people might consider incendiary, telling Black women to shut up, and quite frankly, taking on people who are Black women. I see you taking on Joy pretty regularly. Do you have an issue with her?
I don't. We disagree on a lot of things, issues, politics. We disagree on. I disagree with the way that I'm sorry.
You called her a sociopath. That's a little more than a disagreement.
Well, I think that particular issue, I feel like you got to be a sociopath if you don't understand human emotion from people. You know, whether you agree with them or not, whether you think they're right or wrong, or like, this is human emotion and people are capable of it, especially children. Now, if this was an adult that she was picking on about having human emotions, I've done the same thing. You know, you want people to hold it together, but because I've been in a situation where I have shot at somebody because I felt like my life was in danger, I know what that feels like. So people that haven't done that don't understand.
So now you introduce so you shot at somebody. I guess that's sort of a warning shot to all those people in Twitter that their thumb should not get them hurt.
Right. Don't let your thumbs write a check. Your mouth can't, your ass can't cash.
How about that? So I think that there's more than a few of us who feel that way. But here it could look like, to a casual observer, that between telling Black women to shut up and really coming for Joy Reid from MSNBC in the way you do, that there's some sort of self-hate, like you got an issue with Black women. Talk me through that.
I think that's dumb. You know, when people try to say, oh, she doesn't like Black people of any kind, because I was raised.
Is your ex-husband Black?
Yes. Yeah. I can't even imagine dating a white man. I've said before that I'll never ride a pink penis. So I love Black people. I was raised in the Black community. All I saw every day were Black people. I went to a Black church. I went to all Black schools. I didn't see a white student until the 9th grade. From 9th through 12th grade, we only had 5 white students. Then I went to an HBCU. So when people
Which HBCU did you go to?
North Carolina A&T State University.
Okay, the largest Black college in the country.
Aggie Pride.
Right there it is. So you say you love Black people. I got to push you on this.
Okay.
You got an interesting way of showing love, sis. I heard you in one take talk about not being Breonna Taylor, not being George Floyd, and in fact referring to, at least, I don't know how you want to couch it, them both as criminals.
So the context of that was, we were talking about the 2 white men that were killed with Kyle Rittenhouse. And I was just saying, we're talking about the Black people now feeling like, oh, you know, what issue do we have with this? Like, these are white people. How are we involved in this? And how are we now taking up for these white men? BLM was supposed to be for police brutality and standing up. This is what they claim was for police brutality. Why are we here now in this situation? So I was talking about how as Black people, a lot of times we seem to gravitate to the negative aspects of people. And so if people say, I don't love Black people because I feel like we need to be more positive, we don't have to babysit all the negativity, that's fine with me. The Bible says, spare the rod, hateth the child. So because I bring the whip out, now all of a sudden I don't like Black people. No, I'm telling you what needs to be said that a lot of people aren't going to say. A lot of people aren't going to say, Black women, be quiet. But I talk to a lot of Black men and it needs to be said. A lot of Black men are miserable or cheating. And I think it needs to be said.
You, though, go ahead. I'm sorry. You want to say something?
No, and I just wanted to say, and when it came to, so it was just a clip when it came to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, I was saying, you know, a lot of people were going around saying, I am George Floyd, I am Breonna Taylor. I am not. I don't have to identify with them just because they were Black. Like the way they lived their lives, I'm different from that. And I could have added
Taylor live a life that's different than you.
I'm sorry?
How did Breonna Taylor live her life that's different than you?
Than how I'm living my life right now? I'm not dating a drug dealer. Breonna, a dead body was found in Breonna Taylor's car. But listen, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that she deserved to die at all, but I think that we have to, in the Black community, stop celebrating. We got a whole song called Trap Queen.
I can give you that. I can give you that. That they having the going away party for somebody who's going to prison, not necessarily us at our best, right? I think we can have that conversation. But I'm stuck on the Breonna Taylor piece for this reason, because I want to understand how you could be so different than she, a Black woman asleep in a home. You say that you were married to a person who was a convict. I mean, came right out of prison. So I try to understand how you can separate yourself from the reality that was your married life for 11 years and the father of, I believe, all three of your children.
Yes.
So the father of all three of your children. How could you say you're not Breonna Taylor when by the definition, you could just as easily be Breonna Taylor, a Black woman asleep in the house with her man?
I could. And that's why I feel like I can say that, because I've been there. When people celebrate being a trap queen and we have songs out, when we talk about getting Birkin bags and getting cars and doing this, I feel like I'm the right one to say that. Now, he didn't continue to sell drugs.
But she didn't. But she didn't, though.
She didn't. But
we don't know that about her. We don't know that Breonna Taylor, was doing anything other than being a first responder. And
no, we don't. But I'm talking about when we open up the conversation and we celebrate things in the Black community that is negative.
Not her, though, right? I guess what I'm trying to make the distinction, because here's what I think. And one of the challenges of and this is why we have a long form conversation, and I really appreciate you having this conversation with me, because I think, as I mentioned at the top, we silo real hard, and it makes for good content. It makes for great actionable videos, but it doesn't always present the full picture. And I want to give you the opportunity to engage in the full picture, because I have to believe, based upon what you're telling me about your background and where you've grown up, where you went to school, your experience with Black people, what you did last night, which you can share later, that has you tired in the morning. But in any case, where I struggle is when I hear you say that you're not, and I'm staying with the Breonna Taylor because you're a Black woman and she's a Black woman, not so much because I think George Floyd is a criminal, because I don't, but especially in that instance. But in this instance, and I'm not, you got to forgive me here, I'm not a big pop news person. I spend all day in schools. That's what I really do for a living, or with kids. So by the end of the day, when people are all up in arms about whatever was going to end up on Don Lemon's show or Joy Reid's show or whoever you watch at night, I don't know who people watch because I don't watch them, even though I've been on their networks. But what I want to do is I want to present you with the opportunity to put together a more nuanced perspective, because what I think I hear you saying, and tell me if I'm wrong, is I think I hear you saying that you're not the negative elements that celebrate the negativity in our community, bragging about selling drugs and being a consumer versus a producer. I think that's what I hear you. I think that's what I hear you saying.
Right. I think that we celebrate a lot of negativity, even in that. I don't know if it was in that particular clip, but I do know in that conversation, I talked about how we always called Bill Clinton the first Black president.
You did.
Why? Because he smoked weed, blew a saxophone, and got his dick sucked in the Oval Office. Why do we gravitate to those negative elements of people and feel like those are the things that need to be celebrated, or those are the things that we can bring into our bosom and claim it as our own? I don't think we should be doing that. So when it comes to Breonna Taylor or any young woman, I don't feel like I have to identify with someone simply that, and that would be a woman or a man. I don't think I have to identify with somebody simply because they're Black. You know,
but in this case, so let me push you there, because I don't think that the request is that you identify with someone simply because they're Black. But I think what the conversation is about identifying with a Black woman who in many ways was living the life that you were living.
Exactly, which is why I feel like I'm the best person to say, look, when you're living this life, when you're driving home at night, you're watching the lights in the rearview mirror because you don't want somebody following you or to know where you live.
I mean, I knew that that's where you were, sis, because I'm jumping in here because I have to believe that you can't, and I want to believe, and if I'm wrong, you'll tell me I'm wrong. But I have to believe that really what it is that you're saying is you can't possibly be a Black woman who has had that thing happen in the back of your neck where you look up and you see siren lights and think, oh, this is going to be fine. I'll just tell them to kick rocks and I'm going to go home. You can't possibly think that, right?
You can't possibly think that's a good lifestyle, but yet that's what we push on each other. That's what we.
No, that's not a lifestyle. I mean, yes, you driving home tonight. Well, I don't know where you are, but when you to go somewhere tonight in wherever you're from, I want to tell people your location because you put some heat out there, and I want to keep you. And I know you carry heat. I'm aware of that.
I do.
You made that crystal clear. I don't want this to be used in a case against you, so we're gonna hold it there. But I'm sure you're legal.
I am,
and I want you to be that. But what I'm trying to get at is, I get that we want to make points on the public stage. I get that. I get that, right? But what I'm hopeful is that in making your points, as capable as you are verbally, that you're thinking that the issue is much more related to celebration of negativity within the Black community, right? As an educator who educates kids in the Black and Latin community, the last thing I want my kids to be is hyped up around some drug dealer or somebody who's portraying a drug dealer in their music or art. Right? That's not what I want. I'm not celebrating, right, despite the fact I might bob my head to a 50 Cent song or whatever, whoever the new nut baby, whatever baby there is, or you little whatever there is.
A lot of babies.
But a lot of babies love littles. Got it, right? But I can say that I have been in my car. I will be in my car tonight going home. And I don't want to see those red and blue lights, even with this bow tie on. That's not going to go well for me. And that's not because I'm a criminal. It's because I'm Black. I think you can.
No, I don't agree, but I'm not a Black man. So that's where I'm not going to argue with you.
Okay, so I want to state it. So, okay, good. So you feel safe if you see those cherries coming behind you? You feel like this, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to get home easy?
Yeah, I feel safe, but you also have to understand, I've had my house shot up and I've gone to the door with the storm door crashing in with a knife in my hand, police surrounding my house on my porch.
So why do you feel safe?
And they didn't shoot me. I'm saying every interaction I've had with the police.
A lot of Black people didn't shoot you either, though. If we're going to go with this.
But Black people are the ones that shot the house up.
But I'm saying, but what I'm saying to you is that if the argument that you're making is that those cops didn't shoot you, what a lot of Black people you encounter who've not shot you either. So why is it?
I don't hate Black people though, so I'm not sure what point you're making. I don't hate Black people.
I'm not asking you to hate them.
Yeah, so I don't hate Black people. I don't have an issue with Black people. I don't have an issue with the police because I haven't had while I have had negative experiences with Black people, that doesn't change the way that I love them. And I've never had an experience with police. So I haven't had anything to change the way I see police. I don't know anybody that's been killed by the police personally. I've seen it on TV, but I don't know anybody.
Do you know anybody who has been mistreated by police?
I hear not like, well, yes, but not
your ex-husband never talked about any instances?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking about, you know. He was also a criminal.
With the prison.
He was also a criminal,
right? With the cops.
It wasn't like the cops were bothering him because he was innocent. So that's who I thought about, and I'm thinking, is that a good example? Because he put himself in a position to have to deal with police, right? So somebody just innocent, like you're saying, even in your bow tie, you would be scared because you're Black. I'm not going to argue with that because you're a Black man. Now, if you were a drug dealer, then I would say, but you're putting yourself in a position to have to deal with the police. As an innocent Black man, I don't know people that are constantly saying, this is how I'm treated by the police.
So let me introduce you to somebody who has. That would be me, right?
Okay.
Let me introduce you to somebody who has, who doesn't see the sirens come on and think, oh, this is not going to go left. I have literally almost 2,000 children in our schools across multiple states. I can say the overwhelming majority of them, they don't feel like it's going to go well if the cops approach them. In fact, I would go the other way. I know very few people who are Black or Latin who can say that their experience with cops of any color has necessarily been positive, regardless of the circumstances. That's what has been my experience. So it appears that you and I have had vastly different experiences. So let's just stay there for a second. So I heard you mention that both Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, I heard you call them criminals. But I've not yet heard you refer to Kyle Rittenhouse as a criminal. Did I miss that?
I don't know if I consider him a criminal. And when I referred to George Taylor and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, I said, you know, I think it was a series of words where I said I don't know if you've heard this, because I've seen this in my community, even shirts that say, I am George Floyd, I am Breonna Taylor. I don't feel like I have to walk around with a shirt or to identify with either one of them simply because they're Black. And so when I went on to continue, we were talking about two other men, two white men who are or were criminals. And so I just brought it full circle. Why do we do that in the Black community where we feel like we have to just nurse everything? So my issue with Breonna Taylor, I wouldn't say she was a criminal at the time. No. Was George Floyd a criminal? He had a criminal record, you know, and that's just the fact.
But does that make you a criminal for life?
Talking about George Floyd or Breonna Taylor. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
But does that make you a criminal for life? So you've served your time, you've done your thing. I mean, referring to him as a criminal, maybe you get away with that because he had been arrested, but Breonna Taylor was asleep in her house.
Right. And so my issue with Breonna Taylor, that wasn't even the topic of discussion. My issue with both of them was how we feel as Black people. We have to identify with people simply because there's a negative aspect, and their negativity is being a trap queen. She was involved with a man who was selling drugs. He was having packages delivered to her house. So does that mean
I don't know that to be true?
Murder? Well, it's been out there.
I don't know that to be true.
The young man found dead in her car. That's out there now.
I can't speak to that. I can't speak to the fact that
it's out there, and it's been out there.
There are a lot of things that are out there, but I know this: sleeping in your house of any color is not a crime.
That is not a crime. And that was not the topic of discussion.
And so the question that I asked you, though, is, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to clarify, because I really do recognize that in clips, people slice and dice. And I want to put you in a position where you can say what the context was in the event that someone didn't see that, and then your clip goes viral, and then people hear you say something that you didn't say in context. So I wanted to give you that, and I hope you feel that I'm doing that, because that's really important to me.
Well, you keep cutting me off, but you're a man, so I'm gonna let you do it.
So hold on a second. You told me women supposed to shut up.
That's why I said you're a man. I'm gonna let you do it, so I know I don't feel like I've actually.
You can't turn it on and off. You can't tell me that women supposed to shut up and then be mad when I jump in the middle, right?
I'm just saying. You said I hope you feel like you've done that. I want you to know, no, I don't, because you keep cutting me off. But I'm gonna let you do it.
I didn't realize that a conversation was such that I was supposed to stop and wait and then ask you if you're done. And because I've never been.
No, I just would like to finish my point, and you haven't allowed me to do that.
Go ahead and finish your point. Then I want to hear a point that I've missed.
So when it comes to, again, Breonna Taylor, I feel like I have something or had something in common with this young lady. My whole issue for bringing her up was how we feel like as Black people, we just have to identify with everybody. And then you said something about me hating Black women. So my issue with even Breonna Taylor would be she did not deserve to be murdered at all. George Floyd either didn't deserve to be murdered at all. I don't have an issue saying that. But I do feel like, as someone who was involved with someone that sold drugs, I am the right person to speak out against that. That's just not necessarily a Breonna Taylor issue, but we have been told, and it has been proven, that the young man, not the one that shot at police, the one that she was with before, was having drug packages sent to her home. So I want to take that and say, listen, this young lady did not deserve to be murdered. However, I want to talk to us as Black women and tell us, stop celebrating being trap queens. That doesn't mean your punishment should be death, but I want you to know the possibility that the doors you open and the positions you could put yourself in by doing that. We talk about the good things that we see, the clothes, the shoes, the bags. I need you to know that I know people who have been murdered execution style. I know women who have been hogtied. I know women who have been kidnapped. So I am going to speak up against that. And if that's hating Black people or hating Black women, then hey, I'm guilty of hating them, because then I'm not going to just act like this isn't an issue. This is an issue. And I tell my 3 daughters, you don't need to get involved with someone that sells drugs. And I'll tell anybody, this is not a lifestyle that we should glorify. So when it comes to the Breonna Taylor issue, that's my whole point there. I don't think she should have been murdered. No, but I hear that and I find something from that. What do you mean she had a boyfriend that was having packages delivered from her to her house? This is a life lesson. So when I see issues that go on, I'm going to find a life lesson out there. And I think that that's something we need to talk about as a community. We don't like to talk about the ugly stuff. We want to make it seem as everything is great. That's not great. That's not a good thing.
So let me see if I've heard your point. And so that, because you've said it multiple times, more times than maybe it feels. But what I heard you say is that we shouldn't celebrate negativity in the Black community. That's the point I'm giving you, because I think that's what I think you want to say. Mm-hmm. But then what you continue to say is that you call Breonna Taylor a trap queen, which I don't know that you have any evidence of, which I think is unfair. And one could argue dishonest, because if we don't know it, we can't say it. And to do so in the public sector is a way to perpetuate negativity. I've never said you hated Black people or Black women. In fact, I haven't accused you of anything. In fact, what I did say was it could appear after you go hard after Breonna Taylor, calling her a criminal, a young lady who her only act was to be asleep when criminals approached her home and shot it up. Criminals in the form of police who you say you ain't scared of.
Right.
And so the criminals surrounded her home, shot it up. And now we're talking about her as a trap queen. I think I heard your point. I think what I was attempting to do was to, quite frankly, grab you by the back of the shirt and say, sis, I think you're going too far with this point, because I think you're trying to make a point in a place that it doesn't belong. I think you could make your point by talking about the negativity in the community. You don't know that she's ever worn a Birkin bag. You don't know what it is that she wanted with her life. I don't know that. None of us know. In fact, we've never heard her voice. We don't know what her hopes and dreams were, but we know that in her, at least in her vocation, she was a first responder. And here we are having a conversation about a young lady that you called a criminal. I didn't call her a criminal. You called her boyfriend a criminal, though I don't know him to have a criminal record. And I don't know him to be engaged in a crime. And so I'm trying to point out to you that a person who was listening to you could easily hear you as a Black woman and say, what's her issue with Black people? And so I think I heard you pretty clearly all the times you made the point. What I was then trying to understand, though, which you may have referred to as cutting off, is if you can find the criminality in sleeping while Black, is carrying an AR-15 to a protest and murdering 2 people, does that make you a criminal? Because I've not heard you refer to Kyle Rittenhouse as a criminal. Maybe you have, I said, but I haven't heard it. So is he a criminal?
I don't think he's a criminal in what he did. He was legally able to carry that AR-15.
He was not.
He was. That's why they tossed that out.
Absolutely not true.
Why did the judge toss it out?
Because the judge is pulling for him. I don't know why, but he absolutely, it wouldn't have been a charge. He was charged with a misdemeanor carrying an illegal weapon. He absolutely did not have the right at 17 years old to carry that weapon. So he is a criminal by statute. By the law, he's a criminal.
And if I give you that argument, then just last week when we talked about the same case on the same show, I said if he was, that would be the only charge that I would see that he should be guilty for. So then that would make him a criminal. If what you're saying is true, then that would make him a criminal. And I've said that. But I know this week that charge was dropped.
Okay. Just because a charge was dropped, it doesn't mean that you didn't break the law, which would make you a criminal.
Then he would be a criminal for that.
Okay. But murdering 2 people, not.
Murdering 2 people that were coming after you, I don't know. I don't see that as a criminal. Just like you said, I called Breonna Taylor's boyfriend a criminal. He is a known drug dealer. Not the one that was shooting, and I said that. Not the one that was shooting, the one that was having packages delivered to her house.
Okay. So we can go back to Breonna Taylor for a moment, but I'm going to come back to Kyle Rittenhouse. Breonna Taylor was not with the young man.
I know that.
Okay, but that's not like a small point. She had no relationship to the gentleman that you're speaking of. None. And so I don't know too many people who would justify murdering a person because they're ex. And there were no packages there. They found nothing but 2 dead people who were just in bed. Like I'm going to be tonight, like you're going to be tonight. And I think we can both agree. Maybe we can't, which makes the conversation continue.
Right.
But I think that I would say that if this were to be a middle or upper middle class white couple, ain't nobody shooting into their apartment. And we know that because can't find evidence of such a crime being committed against those folks in this country. So this takes me to a place where you said, I am not oppressed. What do you mean by that?
I am not oppressed as far as I don't feel like the color of my skin is going to hinder me or keep me from doing anything that I want to do in life.
So you mean you as an individual? You mean that you could overcome some of the very real limitations of being Black in America?
I think I can, and I think I have.
So do you feel like you would have as much of a chance of getting a loan as a white person with the same credit score? Because the data doesn't support that.
Me, yes.
Okay, why do you think you would be able to rise above the rest of the Black people who statistically are less likely to get a loan?
Well, because I have. I mean, I don't know why you would want me to say, well, maybe I'm oppressed, because I haven't had the experiences that some Black people feel like they've had. So no, I'm not oppressed. I've been able to get a loan. I've been able to get car loans. I've been able to build a house from the ground up. I've been able to do that. And I was born to a 15-year-old. I'm a product of rape. So when somebody wants to, play that card with me, it doesn't really work. I was never given excuses to not excel. And this is born to a 15-year-old, a product of rape. So I've always, achieved.
So one thing that's important is I don't want you to say anything other than what it is that you say. One of the reasons why I wanted to have a conversation with you is because I believe that you bring more to the conversation than some of the clips that make their way out. I actually think that you present a different perspective than many people are used to hearing. And I think because of your approach, it causes people to stop and listen. I also, maybe it's your smile, but whatever it may be, something that you're doing is capturing people's attention. And I wonder if the attention that you find yourself getting at this point is what you had hoped.
I don't think I really had, I don't think I looked that far into what it would be. I think I just want to tell the truth as I see it. I think I want to point out things where I feel like people are going down the wrong path. If I've had an experience with that and said, hey, you may be getting ready to fall into a ditch. That's what I want. When I started actually talking online, it was basically just based on my life experiences and feeling like I wanted to be the person that I didn't have. Somebody that would just be honest, somebody that would just say what it is, no matter how it hurt or no matter how hard it came across, the person that I feel like I didn't have. A lot of people walk around wearing masks. They act like their life is going good when it's cracking like glass, and you can't get a real conversation with someone. I wanted to be that person that could just have a real conversation and say, look, I've been there. This is where I messed up. This is where I succeeded and did well, and just be honest about it. I don't have to try and pretend, that I did everything perfect. I did not.
I've heard you talk about what we as Black people can do and what we're doing wrong. What do we do right?
I think what we do right is be honest, be genuine. For the most part, I do feel like Black people are just genuine. That's why I like being around them. No matter what it is, if you like it, they're going to be who they are. If you don't, we just who we are. We don't put on a bunch of for show, whether it's good or bad. We don't put on a lot of airs, I feel like, for the most part. Now, there are things that we get into, like church would be one of them, that I think we then begin to try and alter and be a certain way. And, or maybe even in corporate America, we alter and be a certain way. But when you're just hanging around, you just are who you are. And even if it's not, the best, it's not perfect, that's just you.
So we do church well?
I don't think we do church well. We
But
pretend,
what do Black people do well? You said you love Black people. What do you love about us? I'm trying to figure out.
I just said our authenticity. That's what I like about Black people. You can just be who you are,
But you also said that then we go into the workplace and then we change how we are. And
I think certain things come
together, right? It's like, yes. I'm hearing you say that's what you like, but we don't do it.
Certain things come, and I'm talking from my own experience.
Of course.
When I got into church, I began to try and move like the church wanted me to move. I was an ordained minister. So I felt like times when my life was cracking like glass, I still had to preach. I still had to teach. I still had to sing. I still had to dance. And I was lying. Outside of church, I haven't had that experience. I can just be me. When I got in church, it was difficult. And I think a lot of people feel that way. If they didn't, they wouldn't be drawn to me when I say that. They wouldn't be like, yeah, girl, I understand. A lot of people get in church and have to put on a mask. You shouldn't, but they do.
There's no doubt that people are being drawn to you because you're naked. You want to talk about your book, Naked, before we go?
Yes, naked for me means open, honest, and emotionally exposed. So the book just came about after starting Naked Girls, which is just a group of women who have vowed to live that way. People were asking me questions. I was doing videos. They wanted to know more about me and my life experiences. So instead of trying to answer a bunch of emails or DMs, I thought, let me put it in a book. So we didn't say keep it real. We will always say keep it naked, because people say real and they still aren't real. But naked, you can't hide anything. When you're naked, they can see that your breasts sag, your butt may not be sitting up where it used to be. You see it all, you know. And so keep it naked was just our tagline. And so I put it into a book, and it's just an aggressive self-help book based on my life experiences. And I talk about everything from parenting, dating, marriage, divorce, religion, just my life experiences in a book.
How's it doing?
Well, the book is 5 years old, but I think it did pretty well. It was self-published. I'm actually working with a publisher now to write another book. It's past time, I think, but the book is 5 years old. I don't even really promote it like that because it's so old, you know. But I think it did pretty well to be my first self-published book.
What's next for Shamika Michelle?
I will continue to be on Fearless with Jason Whitlock on Blaze TV. If you don't have Blaze TV, though, he does post on his YouTube page. So I will be doing that. And again, I'm working with the publisher to write a new book. I'm going to be doing that. I will be getting back into politics, but that's not like my first love. My first love really is cultural commentary and the Black family. I've just seen too much division. I think me and my ex-husband have kind of, we've mastered co-parenting. So I know it can be done. I would like to see people, you know, if your relationships happen not to work out, I want to help you. I want them to work out. But if they don't, then I think we've mastered how to co-parent very well. And so I would like to help people do that.
So as we come to a close, I want to say for me, it has been a fun conversation. I hope the same for you. I appreciate your candor and your willingness to speak your truth. I think that it's important that people who have the opportunity to have a conversation do so.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people whose thumbs get them in trouble and they say things that they don't really mean, and maybe they mean them, but they don't want to live up to them.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that your timelines get filled with people who are not pleased with you. And I would imagine that you allow some people to speak their truth. For me, it's important that we do have these conversations, because the reason why I started this little podcast called No Dumb Questions is because I want us to be able to have conversations like this. So giving you the last word, what is it that you want people to know about Shamika Michelle?
I want to make sure that I made it clear that my ex-husband didn't remain a drug dealer, because I don't want to get in trouble when I get off of this. I want people to know that he became a successful businessman having multiple businesses. I want to make that clear, because sometimes you get caught in the conversation and I'm like, well, yeah, I did get with somebody who was selling drugs, but he didn't stay that way. I want to make that clear. I don't want nobody to think he out here being a bum or doing something illegal.
So noted. I never thought that he did. And to be
I
quite,
just want to be sure, not for you, for him and for us.
I respect that you care enough about your ex-husband to speak of him in such positive tones. I think it matters. I think it speaks to the character of a person. Just because it didn't work out with you two, it doesn't mean that he has to be this horrible person. And I think that's what you were alluding to just a moment ago when you were talking about how you two have mastered the art of co-parenting, because it really is an art. Even if you're married, it's difficult to agree as to how it is you're going to communicate what you believe a child should or should not value. And each person can very easily think that they somehow have cornered the market on parenting, and that you have taken the time throughout this conversation to pause, to acknowledge him, And the way in which the two of you get along, I think is a powerful statement of you and the integrity that both of you have is I'm going to refer to you as a family, regardless of whether or not you're married. So that did come through.
Thank you.
All
I
right.
appreciate that.
I deeply appreciate you. And I hope you feel that way. My intention is to have a conversation with you. And if you'd like, we can do it again sometime. This is fun. I hope the comments were on fire throughout this conversation. I would have pulled them in, but I felt like we had enough to go on. Thank you, everybody who joined us and all the comments you gave us. We do this every week on No Dumb Questions. This is my side hustle. Except I don't make any money from it. This is what I do to create an opportunity for us to have conversations about things that other people don't want to talk about. And it would be much easier for us to get on this thing and yell at one another and find out what we don't have in common. But my hope is that what we walk away with is a better understanding of each other and that you feel like you got the opportunity to expand on some of the points that you've made in the past. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And I'll come back anytime.
I'm looking forward to that, sis. I really am. And get to bed early tonight because I guess last night
I partied a little bit.
You partied a little bit.
And when I come back, though, I want to talk about how light-skinned men are so afraid of the police.
Oh, my God. What are you talking? Why you got to go? Why you got to throw shade? Do you understand how long I've been living with this? Come on now. If you like it, say you like it, but you ain't got to do that.
I mean, you know, y'all be acting like you the most oppressed in the world.
I ain't acting like nothing, but I know this. I'm dark enough to be concerned about those people you ain't scared of. I appreciate you, sis. I promise you we're going to have you back on. I absolutely promise
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have yourself a really good evening. I look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks. I can't thank you enough for joining me tonight. This is a super fun conversation. Shamika Michelle is a person who, quite frankly, I have a great deal of respect for. We don't have to agree on some things, but that's not what this is about. My opportunity is not to throw shade on somebody. We got to find a way to communicate with one another. We got to find a way to create conversations. I believe the smartest person in the room is not the one with the best answers, but who has the best questions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week on No Dumb Questions.